Hello everyone, this is our second lecture. So we're going to start with the origin of governance. Origin of the governance. So we'll start with the definition. The exercise of power or authority by political leaders, the well-being of their country's citizens or subjects. The word governance derives ultimately from a Greek verb meaning to steer, the metamorphical sense first being attested in Plato. In above described sense, however, the term governance was reinvented as recently as the 1990s by economists and political scientists and disseminated by institutions such as the UN, IMF, and World Bank. Its use in English can be traced to Charles Plumer's The Governance of England, published in 1885 as a translation from the original 13th century Latin of John. The difference between an absolute and limited monarchy. The usage of governance to refer to argument of governing become orthodox, including in Sidney Low's seminal text of the same title in 1940 and among later British constitutional historians. Now here we are going to study governance as a process. In its most abstract sense, governance is a theoretical concept referring to the action and processes by which stable practices and organizations arises and persist. These actions and processes may operate in formal and informal organizations of any size, and they may function for any purpose, good or evil, for profit or not. Convincing of governance in this way, one can apply the concept of state to cooperate, to non-profits, to NGOs and partnerships and other associations, to project teams, and to any number of humans engaged in some purposeful activity. Most theories of governance as a process arose out. These theories built deductive models based on assumptions of model economists to show how rational actors may come to establish and sustain formal organizations, including firm and state and informal organizations such as a network and practices of governing the commons. Many of these theories drawn to transaction cost economists. So this was the governance as a process, and now the governance as a process has different types. So we are going to study the first type. The first type is public governance. The activity that how public decisions are made and how public actions are carried out. Public governance is useful to note the distinction between the concept of governance and politics. Politics involves the process by which a group of people reach collective decisions generally regarded as binding on the group. and enforced as common policy. Governance, on the other hand, convey to administrative and purpose-oriented elements of the governing rather than its antono- antagonistic ones, such as argument. Argument continues to assume the possibility of tradition separation between politics and administration. Contemporary governance practice and other theories sometimes question in this distinction, premising that both governance and politics involve aspects of power and inaccountability. Now we move to the other type of governance, which is private governance. Private governance occurs when non-government entities include private organizations, dispute resolution organizations, or third-party groups make rules and other standards which have binding effect on quality of life and opportunities of large public. Simply put, private, not public entities are making public policies. For example, insurance companies exert a great social impact, largely invisible and freely accepted. That is private form of governance in society. In turn, reinsurers as private companies may exert similar private governance over their underlying carriers. The term public policy should not be exclusively associated with policy that is made by government. Policy may be created by either the private sector or the public sector. If one wishes to refer only to public policy that is made by government, the best term to use is governmental policy, which eliminates the ambiguity regarding the agent of the policy making. So, this was the private governance. Now coming towards the global governance. Global governance is defined as the complex of formal and informal institutions and mechanisms and relationships and processes between and among the state, markets, and citizens and organizations, both inter and non-governmental, through which collective interests on the global plane are articulated, rights and obligations are established, and differences are mediated. In contrast to traditional meaning of governance, some authors like James have used the term global governance to denote the regulation of interdependent relation in absence of overreacting political authorities, and the best example of this is international system of relationship between dependent states. The term, however, can apply wherever a group of free equal needs to form a regular relationship. Now moving towards the next type. The next type is the governance analytical framework. The governance analytical framework is a particular methodology for investigating governance process where various stakeholders interact and make decisions regarding collective issues, thus creating or reinforcing social norms and institutions. It is postulated that governance process can be found in any society, and unlike other approaches, that these can be observed and analyzed from a non-normative perspective. It proposes a methodology based five main analytical units: problem, actor norms, processes, and nodal points. These logically articulated analytical units make up a methodology aimed at being used as a tool for empirical social policy research. Now moving towards the next type. The next type is non-profit governance. Non-profit governance focuses primarily on the fiduciary responsibility that a board or trustees, some call directors, the term of interchangeable, has with the respect of exercise of authority over the expelled republic trust that is understood to exist between the mission of organization and those whom organization serves. The next type of governance is project governance. Project governance, the term governance as used in industries, especially in the information technology sector, describes the process that needs to exist for a successful project. Now coming towards the next type, which is information technology governance. Information technology governance, IT governance, primarily deals with connections between business focus and IT management. The goal of clear governance is to assure the investment in IT generate business value and integrates the risks that are associated with IT projects. Now moving towards the next type of governance, which is participatory governance. Participatory governance focuses on deepening democratic engagement through the participation of citizens in the process of governance with the state. The idea is that citizens should play a more direct role in public decision making, or at least engage more deeply with political issues. Government officials should also be responsive to these kinds of engagements. In practice, participatory governance can supplement the role of citizens as voters or as watchdogs through direct forms of involvement. Now, coming towards the next type of governance, which is collaborative governance. Collaborative governance is a normative concept of a governance. When discussing governance in a particular organization, the quality of governance within the governance is often compared to as standards of good governance in a case of a business or a non-profit organization. For example, good governance relates to consistent management, policies, guidance, and process and decision-making rights for a given area of responsibility and a proper oversight of accountability. Now coming towards the last type of governance, which is good governance. Good governance implies that mechanism functions in a way that such allows the executive to respect all the rights and interests of a stakeholder in a spirit of democracy. Good governance is an intermediate term used as international development literature to describe various normative accounts of how public institutions ought to conduct public affairs and manage public resources. These normative accounts are often justified on the grounds that they are thought to be conducive to economic ends such as erad- eradi- eradication of poverty and successful economic development. Different organizations have defined governance as good governance differently to promote different normative ends. The World Bank defines governance as the manner in which the power is exercised in the management of countries' economy and social resources for development. The Worldwide Governance Indicators Project of World Bank defines governance as the tradition and institutions by which the authority in a country is exercised. This is considered as a process by which governments are selected, monitored, and replaced. The capacity of government to effectively formulate and implement sound policies and respect of citizens and the state of institutions that governs economic and social interaction among them. So these were the types of governance as a process. So this was all for today. Thank you so much.